Ark Survival Evolved. Ark's subtitle is not just a sales conceit. It accurately describes what this game did to the survival genre. Plopped down nearly naked in a world full of dinosaurs, it's tough to hold your own. Dilophosaurs may be small, but they are vicious, and you'll die many times before you learn how to craft the weapons and tools necessary to fend them off. As you gain skills, though, the challenge makes this game very satisfying when you start learning to construct shelters, transportation, and train dinosaurs. You can really rule the land from the back of a baryonyx. State of Decay 2. State of Decay 2 is a post-apocalyptic zombie horror survival game. What makes it different from many others is that you are not a lone survivor. Instead, you have to work together with other people who have managed to avoid being eaten by the undead, not other players, but NPCs in the game. You must utilize their skills and build your own base to hold against the onslaught of the wandering zombie hordes. This game can be bloody, but it's bloody fun, too. And the team-based ethos gives this game an uplifting core that contrasts sharply with the gruesome setting and grueling challenges. DayZ. Unlike most games on this list, DayZ is a survival game that is online only, forcing you to explore the world with the hopes, or fear, of running into other players trying to survive. The rush of running into someone and not knowing their plans can be incredibly daunting to many, which is understandable. But we strongly urge fans of the genre to attempt this unique experience at least once. Additionally, DayZ has a relatively robust modding community, and a large gathering in general, allowing you to easily meet like-minded players, setting you up for nearly endless hours of enjoyment. There's nothing like DayZ out there, and there's no questioning where its success came from, as trying to survive amongst zombies and real players is inherently terrifying and engaging. Medieval Dynasty. Medieval Dynasty is a fantastic blend of multiple genres, bringing aspects of survival, simulation, and strategy under one roof, making for unique and interesting gameplay. While not perfect, Medieval Dynasty delivers an unforgettable experience, placing you directly in the Middle Ages, forcing you to hunt, farm, and maintain a village for survival. If you're looking for something that shakes up the survival formula, this may be what you're looking for, as it has enough of the survival identity present but stretches its legs far beyond what you would expect. Living your day-to-day life out will be tense, rewarding, and exhilarating, but it can also be frustrating if you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Aliens, Fireteam Elite. There has been a litany of games based on the Alien movie series, which vary heavily in quality. However, Aliens, Fireteam Elite is on the good side of the scale as it's an enjoyable cooperative third-person shooter. It's not the sort of survival game where you have to manage your hunger or thirst. Instead, you must survive by avoiding getting killed by the countless number of xenomorphs you face, as well as a few other enemies. If you've ever seen the Alien movies, that sounds problematic. But each class of Solider has the means to protect themselves, especially if they work well with their teammates. Dead by Daylight. Whether or not Dead by Daylight is a survival game depends on what team you're on. After all, this is an asymmetric multiplayer game where one person plays as the killer while everyone else controls the survivors. As their name suggests, the role of the killer is to go around murdering everyone. If they all die, the killer wins. As the survivors, you aim to open up the exit or find another way to escape. It is essentially a highly violent game of cat and mouse. This War of Mine, Final Cut. This War of Mine is a unique war-themed game because you don't play as a soldier on the front lines or a special ops member. Instead, you control a group of civilians who are trying to survive during this difficult time. They're all hiding inside a damaged building, hoping to avoid the conflict. You must keep them safe by maintaining their hunger and health while keeping their mood as high as possible. To do that, you need to scavenge for items and supplies, making the stakes of your survival just as high as theirs. 7 Days to Die. There are many ways to perish in 7 Days to Die, such as through starvation or dying of thirst. Not to mention, multiple things can make your downfall quicker, like harsh weather, dysentery, and injury. However, the biggest threat to your health in this title is, of course, the zombies. These monsters continually roam the game's open world and will attack you on sight. To make matters worse, they get stronger with each passing day. But you can craft bases to hide in and tools to help defend yourself. Plus, you can bring in some friends to help out, as the game supports multiplayer. The Long Dark. In the Long Dark, you must survive the harsh Canadian wilderness. So, that means withstanding freezing temperatures and plenty of wolf attacks. On top of that, you must try to avoid starving to death. These things are present in both the story mode and the separate sandbox survival mode. Speaking of the story, it's a surprisingly well-told multi-episode narrative. The plot isn't usually the focus of these types of games, but this one is compelling, mainly due to the stellar voice acting and beautiful art style. As for the sandbox mode, it provides more of a traditional survival game experience. Conan Exiles. As you may expect from its title, Conan Exiles takes place in the Conan the Barbarian world. You don't play as the titular character, though. Instead, you control an exile who begins with nothing. You must use what resources you can gather to avoid dying of hunger or thirst. To make matters worse, the open world is filled with dangerous creatures that will kill you if they get the chance. Plus, if you're playing on an online server, you must watch out for bloodthirsty players. So, there are dangers all around, which is what you expect with a survival game. Grounded. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be the size of an ant? Well, Grounded helps feed that curiosity. You play as a shrunken human who must survive in a backyard with plenty of bugs and other creatures. They all share their own purpose, with some being more useful than others. The spiders, for instance, are definitely not helpful as their goal is to kill you. And if you aren't fond of spiders, don't worry, as the game includes an arachnophobia safe mode, where you can change how the creatures look. While dealing with those beasts, you must eat and drink to stay alive. No Man's Sky. It's fair to say that No Man's Sky had a difficult launch. But after several updates, the game has become a more polished and fascinating adventure. In it, you get the freedom to explore a bunch of procedurally generated planets, where you find materials that help you build up your gear. However, it's not as peaceful as it sounds, as these planets aren't all devoid of life. There is usually something around that's trying to kill you. And it would be best if you used your wits and whatever equipment you have to survive the attacks while making the planet as habitable as possible. Frostpunk. Frostpunk differs from many other games in the genre because you're not just looking after yourself or a small team. Instead, you must manage an entire city of people whose world has been destroyed due to global cooling. Along with being a survival game, it's a city simulator where you have to manage resources and your people. In the process, you must make some difficult judgment calls that aren't always going to make you well liked among the population. But sometimes, the unpopular choice will help keep people alive in the long run. Minecraft. While Minecraft is certainly not the first entry into the genre, it led the charge for the current generation of survival games. Here you have all the elements you expect of this sort of title in their starkest, blockiest form. With no real goal and virtually unlimited space and resources, you can build whatever you want, assuming you can survive the hazards of wandering mobs, including the iconic creepers. Many Minecraft players get trauma flashbacks at the sound of sizzling bacon, thanks to those stealthy, exploding beasts. The game has limitations, but it's still amusing and perfect for family time with your little crafters. Terraria. Terraria grew directly out of the excitement for Minecraft, making some similar concessions in terms of a block universe. However, Terraria limits the world significantly by making it a two-dimensional, pixelated setup. It makes up for this limitation by giving you an even more comprehensive array of monsters to fight. There are several epic bosses and powerful waves of outrageous enemies you can summon by crafting magic items. There are also plenty of well-developed NPCs that you can trade with. They also sometimes give you scraps of information and quests, another very fun one for family play. Outer Wilds. Like many newer survival games, Outer Wilds blends the essential survival aspects with a focused plot and goal. You only have 22 minutes to survive before the star goes supernova, killing everyone. Don't worry. That's plenty of time to die in any number of ways. Crashing your spaceship, running out of air, or being eaten by dangerous beasts on the planet or out in space. As with most time loop games, you'll die a lot, at least every 22 minutes. But at least you get the reward of one of the most enjoyable death sequences. Your brief life will replay before your eyes. Astroneer. Astroneer is a very pure survival game. With neither time limits nor set goals, you wander the worlds of your solar system, collecting resources that enable you to research and build ever more complex technologies. While there are no animals in this game, only plants, that doesn't mean you're free from threats. Not only can the flora kill you with poison, explosions, and impaling spines, but it's easy to get lost, especially if you wander into caves. And a missing Astroneer usually runs out of air and dies. Thanks for watching. Write in comments what is your best survival game.